Hey guys, Bronson here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the ground floor. This is going to be a longer form video, more chill, so sit back and relax and enjoy. So when I talk about the ground floor, I'm talking about the concept that Flesh and Blood is a brand new trading card game. And the ground floor meaning that the first couple of sets are really important to the game in general. It's part of its history, it's part of its founding, and it's also a time period where the sets do not have too many cards available. It's being tested in a way, I should say. I mean, it's already been tested before it was released, but it's also being tested in reality. I mean, you can definitely see instances where they what is it, LSS has released the product and then they make supplementary product of Crucible of War to add things that they didn't in the first alpha and beta printing. Alpha being Welcome to Wrath, beta being Arcane Rising, and it's a very interesting concept because I feel like the community of people who are currently in the community feel the sense of something is starting. They know that something is special about this game, but they're a little timid to think, well, is this really going to last long term? Is this going to really proceed into the future? Or is it going to be like a lot of other trading card games where, it burns out like quickly and then like is gone versus, having a slow burn throughout the career? And it's tough. I mean, in 2020, man, the stores that sell these items are just going out of business. Um, People are playing a lot more digital games. This is not the 90s anymore. The main market segment are the people who have grew up in the 90s, who've played these card games and who have, nostalgia about being at a physical table sitting down with their friends and playing games. And even on the Legend Story Studio website, it says that. This is a bunch of creators who have nostalgia about the past, who are creating this game to reignite that nostalgia in the current generation, in a sense. And you could definitely see that it's positioned in a great way to where these cards are not for kids. This is not an 8-year-old, 12-year-old game. This is like a 16 plus is what they market it to, but honestly, it's pretty graphic. Some of these cards are pretty hardcore. I mean, it shows literally someone's arm being like severed, and like it's shown like legs being severed. It's shown swords to the heart. It's a very not but think about it. There's a lot of things out there that are PG-13 where you see, somebody get hit or stabbed, but you don't see as much blood. But in Flesh and Blood, you see blood. it's it's 50% of the game. But to get back to my point, the ground floor. I feel like this is either going to be a time where people look back and say, wow, I dodged a bullet on that one. Didn't invest. Didn't put my money into it. Didn't waste my time. I kept with, Magic the Gathering, or I kept with League of Legends, or I kept with World of Warcraft or Dungeons and Dragons. I kept with what I was doing, and I didn't do that, and now no one cares. Or it's gonna be a time that people reflect on and be like, shoot, what was I thinking? This game was amazing, and I just let it slip through my fingertips. I just let it slip through, didn't buy any cards, didn't look into it, didn't care at the time, but now 5, 6, 10 years later, it's a huge hit, Everyone loves it. It's the next big thing. It's the fifth biggest trading card game and rising. You don't know what's going to happen to this. And of course, it doesn't have the track record that the other trading card games have. No, not even close at this point. I mean, right now this is September 2020. So recently it's gotten a huge boom. In August, late August, it just exploded. And now there's a lot of hype and people are excited of the people who actually know about the game. But I feel like there's a huge market that just isn't marketed to for this game. So I feel like there's a lot more growth that this game can have. And I feel like now is a very attractive time to get into this game because you are experiencing things like you are one of the founding players right now. Like if you start playing the game, if you start buying these cards, if you especially the first print run of these cards, and when you have that stuff, you are at the ground floor, my friends. I mean, this is like penny stock extraordinaire. I mean, recently it has increased in value, like in demand. People have been really attacking the product, and I really feel like LSS was smart. They played their cards right, and I'm pretty sure they limited the supply out. They knew that demand was going to exceed supply, so it hyped it up, and the card value goes up, which is smart because they understand the secondary market. But it's going to be interesting in the future to see how that works out. So, just to give you an even clearer image, can you imagine? Just take for a second. Put yourself back 25 years. Years 1994, 1995. And a little card game called Magic the Gathering came out. Ooh. And there's these pieces of cardboard that that you play with. You put cards down and you have an opponent and oh man, new concept. So can you imagine just like opening a box of alpha or beta or unlimited just for the first time? Well, I think alpha and beta, I think they had just like decks or what have you. But can you imagine just owning that stuff and then accumulating a bunch of cards, having fun, playing with your friends and having all those moments, and you get that title of saying, hey, I played an alpha, I played in beta, I was the guy who had a huge collection of that first print run. I was the guy who you know like played at middle school, played at high school, uh, and had a blast with these cards. And now 25 years later, it's still being played. And guess what? Like I was the first, and I feel like that's a huge feeling that a lot of people in the Flesh and Blood community currently have. Is that they are starting something new, and this in 10, 20 years, they're going to be that guy who can say, hey, I was there when it started, and I knew that this thing is cool. And I mean, that's kind of a feeling that a lot of people have for a bunch of stuff. Like, oh man, like, have you ever had those friends that like they rave about like some new video game or some new like restaurant or something like that? They always want to be the premier person who figures something out. And I feel like that's in a sense, but it's more of being a part of a community, I think. Feeling that you are a part of something bigger than yourself and realizing something's potential before it has actually taken off. And that is the ground floor. Because if you think about a building, right? Of course it has the ground floor, but then first, second, third, fourth, fifth, building has many levels. But when you're at the very bottom, you get to see the whole thing being built. And I think that's really special. And personally, obviously, I love Flesh and Blood. I think it's an amazing game. I think it has its flaws. I think it has its threats, and there's many things I'm worried about. But I personally just love the game. Like holding these cards and just, oh man, playing the game is just so much fun to me. And I feel like it's got so much potential. And I feel like it's really one of a kind and it's got nowhere to go but up.